Hello, everybody. Welcome to Banner and Chance. We had a little bit of a late start tonight. My fault. But we're here now and we're ready to roll. And so we're going to get going. This is episode 11. I would like to say I'm Tim. I will be your none too cruel dungeon master this afternoon. But I have broken out a set of dice that I haven't seen since I was a kid. And last time I checked, they were mean rollers. So sorry, everybody, if that's the case. Let's go around the room.
I'm Brad. I play Rogar Norixius, the Dragonborn Paladin.
Hi, I'm Aiden. I play Kane Harbinger, the fighter wizard, human, all the way from Waterdeep.
Hello, I'm Shady. I play Runt, the young human rogue.
And I'm Luna, and I too play a human, but she is a Kensei monk named Keen.
And these four had a rather interesting experience. We're going to get into that in just a second. But as I say, this is episode 11, so thanks everybody for sticking it out for 11 episodes. Last time was awesome. I'm hoping we can repeat that again. Whew. Episode 11 is entitled The Harvestress Armistice. Previously on Banner and Chance. The party visited the Chantian Temple of Harrowdale, where Rogar learned about a missing magical artifact from the temple's high harvestress, Hildegard Hillis. The party was ambushed. A band of unknown ruffians saved the harvestress, and they were led to the catacombs and the storage center underneath the temple known as the Bounty. There they were introduced to a shambling, rag-like creature, a myconid. Right before we left our party, as the High Harvestress was charging the party with them protecting this myconid, the myconid released a cloud of rapport spores, and the party began to hear the thoughts of one another echoing in their minds. And this is where we pick up our story on Banter and Chance.
Bad what happened to my family.
Really am
But they can understand.
They shouldn't look to me so hard. None makes future become more chaotic.
The clouds of rapport spores begin to settle. Your minds begin to sort things out. This is recently after you've just finished battling a group of assassins, magic wielders, a large half-orc. But now the High Harvest Mistress says, "It is late. You need to rest and recuperate. Allow me to show you what we have prepared where you can hold up safely." And she leads you, with the myconid following her, ambling behind, back through the stores of grain, the stores of wine and mead, bundles of dried fruit, towering shelves of mushrooms, through a torch-lit corridor and into a apartment that's been carved into the chalk of these caves.
During that walk, I want to elbow Kane and just be like, "What is that thing?"
Do I know what that thing is at all? In my past studies of Who's He What's It.
I would say you can go and roll a 20 for me, please.
All right. History check or maybe nature?
I would say, yeah. Let's go with nature or history.
right.
Sure.
Let's go with, well, they're both the same, so 6.
You're not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Your guess is as good as mine.
What happened back there?
No clue.
Now you're heading into a oaken doorway, and you can see that there's several acolytes inside this space. Quite a large space. They're fixing beds. They've brought in a plate of food, and there's torches and braziers lit into alcoves carved around the room, making it quite warm, dry, and hospitable in here. There's even a place where you can wash and go to the washroom and these kind of things. And there are 4 beds arranged. As the mother enters, the acolytes bow and begin to let themselves out of the room. One, Farah, who you met before, is there with you. My children, it is late. You must rest, and I'm glad that you came to us in the cover of night. I do not want to have those of the city knowing you are here. I would much rather you lay low, at least for the evening. Let us handle the watch as they come. We can answer their questions, and you and I will start anew in the morning.
Actually, I pull out the pin I was given. I think it would be better if I explained it all and I show her the pin.
I understand you've been deputized, and there are those in the watch who we can trust. But there are those in the watch who we cannot.
Okay.
I would much rather you stay here tonight, and tomorrow we can discuss who and what you may have seen.
Got it. Sounds good to me.
Our friend here, he will stay with you under your guard. There is a room there, and you can see that she's pointing to a dark space with a curtain drawn across it, where he will be quite comfortable. There is no way in or out. It's a storeroom. He can go and he will sleep there, insofar as our Myconid friend can sleep. So with that, I would suggest I get upstairs. If you need anything, one of the sisters will be outside the door. You may, if you wake, you can ask her for whatever you may need. But I would bade you sleep.
Thank you very much for your hospitality.
So these beds are warm and inviting. Do
She's
each one
still
of
in
you?
the room?
She's still in the room. She's motioning towards the bed. She says, "I think it's time for you to go to sleep."
Okay, so go away.
Okay, she says, and she nods over to the Myconid friend, and she says, "Good night, my friend." She steps outside of the room. She motions 2 of the. You can see there's 2 acolytes there outside. She closes the door. When she does, the Myconid raises his arms again, and lets out another cloud of spores. Immediately, you can feel again, these are rapport spores, but there's something else. And each one of you begin to drift and slowly stumble towards your beds.
Oh no, no,
Collapse.
no,
No,
Onto the bed.
no. I resist.
And you find yourself falling into a deep...
I need
Absorb
conversations.
elements. I cast absorb elements. Is it a poison?
No, it's not a poison.
Never mind. Shit, I wasted a spell slot.
No, you didn't spend that spell. You were thinking about it as you were lulled into a sense of relaxation and sleep.
No.
And as you fight it, Geen, you still find yourself falling backwards into a dreamlike realm.
Hand on swords, resisting.
Hand on swords, resisting.
Very metal, but I'm gonna grab the tip of my spear. I'm gonna cut my hand.
All right.
And go into 6th hand.
The spear is vapor, and your hand is vapor. And as the mists begin to clear, the four of you are standing in the same places you were standing before, looking at one another. And you're in this haze, this type of dimension that you're not familiar with. And you're looking at each other as if you were standing there awake.
I'm gonna go up to Rogar and try and man him and say, what the fuck is happening?
Rogar, you can feel her in a strange sort of way touching you. And Geen, you can feel Rogar, but it's not as if he's so much substantial. He's almost plastic and wispy and like clay and cold.
I'm gonna punch him.
Your fist goes through and sort of scatters a mist that is his aura in front of you.
I'm
punch him
me.
again.
I'm me.
Nothing.
Enough.
Quick question: we're
Calm.
not in like 0G land or something, right?
Nope, there's a floor underneath you. And suddenly you begin to hear voices. A woman's voice, two children's voice, and two men's voice. Kane, you recognize these voices. The mists begin to part, and a picture comes into play. And all of you now are standing in a wooden home. There is a fire in the fireplace. There are two young boys, a teenager and a younger boy, playing at the hearth. There are two gentlemen sat at the table. And there is a woman, you can barely see her back through the pantry door, fixing food, of which there is already food on the table. And as this room comes into focus, it gets more and more real. Kane, for you, this room gets very real. Because this is your home. This is the home of your father and your mother. At the table sits your father, Stefan, talking to Burkle. You see two boys playing with a cat in front of the fire. And the older boy says, "He's gonna bite you, Kane." And Kane replies,
You don't really know much about the cats, do you?
this little boy's voice says, "You don't really know much about the cats, do you?" And Kane, you're hearing yourself speak, and you have a memory of this. This was in a harvest. This was at a holiday, and here sits Burkle and your father speaking. All of you can see this. You slightly recognize the accent of this boy, but you don't know who these people are.
I'm gonna quickly yell out to the woman, "Mom!"
I'm gonna walk around in front of the two boys and look at their faces.
Is there?
You're able to see their faces. You're able to look right in their eyes. Your mother does not react, Kane.
I'm gonna try to touch my mom.
When you do, your hand feels her for a moment, but then passes through it. She does not react.
I guess this is some kind of torment for me, huh? This is great.
I want to touch Kane's face. The little Kane's face.
Again, it goes through as if it was going through chalk dust. It goes through, it reconstitutes, and he continues to play with the cat. The cat is now biting him. And he, ow, what the heck?
I'm gonna go over to my father and Burkle.
As you do, you go over and you can hear your father saying, Burkle, she's no good for you. You've always done this since we were boys. You become infatuated, and this elven troubadour is the latest in a line of infatuations that you've had. Burkle turns and he says, Stefan, this one is different. She is different, I tell you. She's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And my heart glows when I'm with her. And your father laughs and says, Burkle, I don't know what to do with you. Suddenly, the room begins to dissolve and move as if blown away by wind.
Stand up.
The room is now colder. The same room reforms. People are standing in a different area. Kane, where there was your 6-year-old self, now there's only one boy. It is you, and you are sitting in a chair by the hearth, and you are studying. You're probably 13 years old.
Yeah. So do I just see myself, or is there anybody else in the room?
Not now, but you hear a rapping on the door. Coming, your mother says. She goes into the entryway and you hear her say, Stefan, it's Burkle. Burkleish is here. Great, tell him I'll be right down. And you can see your father now in his official robes that he wore when you were a young man. And he comes down, he says, Burkle, my friend, come in, come in. And once again, he comes in, he says, Kane, take your books to the table, won't you? And the young Kane stands up. And he says to his father,
Yes, I'm coming right now.
Burkle sits down in front of the hearth, adds a few logs, brushes himself off and says, I'm telling you, Stefan, it's good business. I want to hear more, says your father. They speak for a while about his trade and how he's been moving things through the portal. He says, I'm telling you, it's excellent. This merchant is going to make me a rich man. He will make me a rich man, I promise you. And Stefan says, I've heard of this Karathur. He's on our list, and if you get tied up with the wrong sort, I cannot protect you. I'm sure that this is not what you should be doing. Think carefully, Burkleish. Think carefully. They scatter to the wind. Kane, you're now sitting at the table again, but this time you're just finishing your breakfast. You hear your mother and your father talking in hushed tones in the kitchen. Murmurs.
I'm gonna go over there.
You can go over there. Your
Yeah.
now 20-year-old, your now 17-year-old self sits at the table. You head over to the kitchen. You can now clearly hear them speaking, but your 17-year-old self does not seem to hear them at all. And they are arguing in hushed tones. Stefan, it is dangerous. You cannot keep standing up for him. He will be your undoing. We've already been receiving threats. I know Burkleish is a good man, but this is too much. Your father is troubled. His face is... Where are the rest of you, by the way, as all this is going on? Are you still sitting in the front room watching the fire, or...
I walked up to where Rogar and Runt are standing, and
Okay.
I'm watching, but I'm just standing next to them.
Okay, so you're essentially sitting next... You're in that main entryway. Kane, you're the only one that's at the door of the pantry. I'm afraid. This scene is cast, and suddenly we're back to a family sitting around the table. Your father is there, and he says, boys, we're going to see your Uncle Burkle tonight, and you need to say goodbye to him, for this may be the last time we see him. And no sooner does that happen than the door opens, and Burkle comes in, and you can see now your 19-year-old self, Kane, embracing your uncle. Your older brother shaking his hand, your father slapping him on the back, and they begin to talk about his new business venture and how he will now start to devote his time in the Dales.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at Burkle's and how he's dressed, what he looks like, and what's on his person, and just pretty much take like mental photographs of it. Just like
where Burkle was a strong, well-endowed man, smiling. Now there is a bit of strain on his face, and his eyes are somewhat dark underneath. And you didn't notice this at the time, but you notice it now. That strained look on his face. He's wearing a smile, and your younger self seems very content to take that smile at face value. But he is strained. And he reassures your father that his business will see him away. He turns to you and he says, Kane, if you're ever in the Dales, don't hesitate to look me up. He says, I would like you to remember the name Bright Song, and if you ever need me, find me in a town called Ashabenford. And he exchanges pleasantries again, gives your mother a kiss on the cheek, shakes your father's hands, and you see him go. And you can watch him out on the street, mount his horse and head off down in the direction of the portal. The sands shift again. You are back in the room. Your mother is crying. Your brother is pacing. And you stand very much like you stood, not 6 months, 7 months. In the person standing in front of you now. And you remember this day well. This is the day where your brother told you your father has gone missing. And he needs to get you to the portal. You must run, Kane. You must run. Find Burkle. The sands shift. And for each of you, your eyes begin to relax. Warmth creeps back into the room. And then you're in this space and you're standing there together. And you can tell you're asleep, but you're looking at one another.
Punch Rogar.
You open your eyes and you're punching out into space, and your fist narrowly misses the face of an acolyte. Oh, she says, and she scrambles backwards. She says, Mistress, I'm sorry. I was just making sure you were okay.
I get out of the bed. I jump out of the bed.
Everything
I'm just looking around.
She's startled. Your friends are sleeping. The room is quiet. It's warm and inviting. She quickly hurries over to the fountain and brings you a glass of water. She says, it's good. It's sweet. You're okay.
I walk over and I punch Rogar.
Rogar, lying prone. You feel should we roll for that? Do you want to see?
I'm not
you
doing
crit
it
him?
very hard.
All right.
It's just like a
jovial punch.
yeah.
A jovial punch.
Like
Yeah.
like is he really there? Like,
Rogar, your eyes snap open, and Kane and Geen is above you, and she's in her ready stance.
What? It is. Why?
You're real.
Yes.
You're sitting up now in bed. You're
As is my sore jaw.
Sorry.
The acolyte is really she hurries back to the font, takes a white linen cloth, brings it back to you, Rogar, freshly wrung but with cool water in it, and says, "Here you are, sir. Here you are, brother Rogar."
Thank you. Why is it that you continue to strike me?
I don't know what's happening. I tried to touch you and it didn't feel solid, so I tried punching. It's the only thing I know what to do.
We all experienced the same thing. Why exactly we were looking into Kane's story, I cannot say, but we saw the same thing. I was there.
Kane sawing logs.
What
Runt?
is this black magic?
I'm under the bed asleep. So.
Okay, Runt is still, and it's quite a euphoric sleep. It's not uncomfortable. You had this strange, lucid dream, absolutely. But you're having a sound sleep, deeply relaxed, a deep sleep. The acolyte comes over to you, Geen and Rogar, and she says, "Would you be ready for your breakfast now? We're approaching 9 bells."
Yes, I suppose so.
She quickly backs out. She heads to the little bar that's there, and she begins to bring up hearty breads, an assortment of fruit, and begins to boil a kettle, swings it on a hearth crane into one of these alcoves. You can soon smell the rich, dark, smoky flavor of some sort of a root coffee that she's brewing.
I'm going to the storage door and I'm going to open it and see if that shroom dude is still there.
You do, and he's and when you open it, he seems to be standing, sort of. Well, actually, he's half sitting on a crate, and he looks at you.
I close the door.
Oh, it's a curtain. So you
I close the curtain.
As you do, you can just sort of get a waft of spores coming out, and then you hear in your mind, you hear, "Friend, Pevik, friend," and you don't so much hear it as feel it. And when you consider this thing in front of you, even his name is not so much a name. It carries the understanding of gravel tipping out of a bucket and some sort of a dry feeling on your hands, as if running your hands through dry leaves. And that's as much as his name carries as it does words. It's just an understanding that these things mean this person. But you've closed the thing, and
I immediately go towards the girl and say, "You out now!" And then I go wake up Kane and Runt.
"Oh, okay, mistress." And she takes her leave, and she closes the door behind her, and "I'll be right outside." And she closes the door. Big heavy door. Clunk.
After I wake up, try to pat it down Runt and Kane. I go to the door. Can I lock it?
You may. Yep. It's got
I
a great.
lock it.
It's got a. You drop a great big beam across it. It's obviously fortified.
Geen, what bothers you so?
What is this place? What is that thing? Is this not doing that. Is this a cult?
And did you smack? Did you smack Kane and
Oh
Run?
yeah, before I locked the door, I just smacked them all over.
Hey.
Get up!
Welcome to it.
Drawing my bone dagger and going, ah!
You can smell the food on the table. You can smell this coffee that's been decanted.
Oh.
I want to go over to the table of food and start throwing things, looking for meat.
Yep, you can find some salt pork and what looks like a smoked goose legs.
Are you sure that's
So I'm gonna-
safe to eat?
When I
Yep.
munch it,
It's
and
delicious.
walk over to Geen and say,
Yeah, like road guy said, Geen, what's trouble you so?
Everything that just happened. What is
just
this
happened?
magic?
We were slipping.
Speaking of, I had the weirdest dream with all of you.
I had to dream it in it too. You was like little, and you was playing with the cat, and you was like the cat's not going to hurt me, but then it did.
And Burko was there.
It's the first time we've set eyes upon him. At least now we know what he looks like.
You saw my memories.
Were they real memories?
To the T. And now you know why I'm here.
Well, how do we see your dream memory thing?
You don't remember that thing in the room and behind the curtain?
I think that's the way it communicates.
I did not leave my home country for this crazy shit.
Wait, I'm so confused. So the mushroom just
And as you,
do we all
as
go
you
crazy?
yeah, as you see that, given you can now see as soon as you've turned away from your friend that the curtain is in fact open on that room,
I pull my sword.
and he's just standing there, regarding all of you, like this, not threateningly, just standing there.
I don't care. I draw my sword.
He slowly raises his hand. He slowly.
Keep your hands where we can see him, buddy.
He raises these three pincer-like hands, and
Hey, put them down. Put them down.
and he seems kind of frightened, so he backs up into the room, and then you smell again this musty smell coming across the room, and then
Oh.
all four of you, hear, and it's clearer now, not as rudimentary as it was for you, Geen. I'm a friend, you hear.
So he said he's a friend. Did you guys hear that?
I know no friend that is plant.
Not in the traditional sense of the word of hearing, but yes.
And in your brains, in fact, you can, as soon as you're doing this, you can hear him say, Pavinica. I'm Pavinica. And I'm a friend.
Okay.
And that thought of friend carries with you all the emotions that you would expect. Looking at a friend, you actually get the feeling of a friend more than the word of friend coming into your mind.
I mean, I don't think he's going to hurt us, Keen.
None.
And then he can then he responds to you, Runt, I won't hurt you.
Yeah, okay, but like, stop doing that, or like we're going to eat you or something.
Would you want to eat me?
Use a mushroom.
Troubled, he sort of reaches down at one of the raggy bits on his clothes, his stump, and he tears off a piece and he holds it out to you, Runt. You can try. I don't know if I'm poisonous for you.
Let's think the better of that.
Yeah, okay. Maybe not now.
He withdraws it and he sort of tucks the mushroom flesh back into his bearded, ragged, scarecrow-like face.
I don't know, guys. It seems okay.
This drugs.
Why-
We're on drugs. I swear we're on drugs.
Why
What
do they
happened?
have you down here?
I'm a tool, he says.
Because you're able to read minds.
Yes? I guess.
And I could see how this could be very important. Excuse me. Pivinic?
Pivinic.
Pivinic.
Pivik. What you like. Just think of me, and again, this notion of hands in leaves, the sound of gravel tipping out of a bucket.
I'm gonna slowly walk up to him, still sword drawn. But when I get close, I want to poke him.
You do. How deep do you poke him?
Like, like that.
He's a little porous.
A little boop.
Oh, you poke him with your sword or with your finger?
No, with my finger.
Oh,
My sword
okay.
is down here,
Yeah, okay.
but I'm poking. I'm booping him with my finger.
And you do, and he goes, thanks. And then you hear a rapping at the door behind you.
We're busy. We're doing stuff. We're doing stuff, right?
No.
Yes. We need to talk.
Here is
We
it.
do need to talk.
The knocking gets a little louder.
I go to the door and I open it up.
No.
Oh.
I open it silently. It's like, we're gonna need like 10 minutes.
You can see there is Farah. Again, you had met Farah and Lorelei. Farah says, you had met Farah and Lorelei, Rogar. Farah says, Brother Rogar, my friends, the High Harvestress, asks me to come and get you. Your friend Bilk is awake.
Oh.
Close the door. We
She's-
need to see Bilk, but we need to talk.
We do need to talk. Like 100%. I agree
mean,
with
we're
that.
talking right now.
I'm going back to the door. I open it a little bit. I want to say, give us like 2 minutes. Sorry, we've just been through a rough.
Very,
kind of
very good. I'll let her know.
weird night.
We'll see you.
Push
You
the
know
door,
your way.
lock it.
You know your way out. She says.
Yep.
Okay. And away she goes.
Okay.
Enough of these people. What is happening?
It's not enough of these people. They're actually my God's allies. They mean us absolutely, positively no harm. What we're experiencing is something unknowable. But the Temple of Chantier and the Temple of Helm are entwined. All throughout the time of troubles, they assisted one another.
I want to try something, and I want to say something to Rogar, but in my head, and say, We need answers.
You hear a slightly garbled voice in your head, Rogar, but then you see, almost on cue, spores release from his forearms and shoulders, and suddenly, clearly in your mind, you're able to speak, Geen. And you had said we need answers?
We need answers, yeah.
All three of you hear this. And you don't only hear it, you feel the emotion behind it. The need for answers, the curiosity.
Not curiosity, confusion.
And confusion.
And fear.
And desire,
and-
sure. And the vacuum of facts. Or
Guys, I think I'm dreaming again.
We're not dreaming. We're awake.
Did you hear that?
I mean, I heard it.
so you're now none of you are moving your mouths, you're all just thinking back and forth. Okay. And you hear
Oh,
you hear a
disappeared.
slightly you hear Pivik's voice in your head, and she says, "Any answers you seek from one another, you can share now." He says.
I'm going to.
How is it that you're doing this, Pevik?
My people communicate through the spore.
So if we
Well-
want to continue doing this, we need to be next to you?
Just breathe in my spore, and we are linked.
You have no exact anatomy. Your mouth is lacking, so this makes sense.
I do not eat the way you eat.
I understand. I understand what it means to be different.
You are different. You're all very different, he said this.
And I understand why you are very, very important to this temple.
I help the High Harvest Mistress.
Yeah,
You could
but,
bring...
What does she do for you?
She keeps me safe. Here. She said you'd keep me safe. There. We are to go.
It's what?
I'm going with you. Yes?
Going where?
You will take me where I'm safe.
We're safe.
You will help me get home? Or the High Harvest Mistress will tell us where we're going? I don't know. Do you? And the question hangs in the air, the same as the spores are hanging in the air.
I mean, I don't know if coming with us is such a good idea because the gnome came with us and he just died. I mean, he's okay now, but he just died.
I would like to meet this
Fair.
gnome, he says. He sounds
Okay.
amazing.
I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I
swear
guess
I'm
it's
going crazy.
okay.
Images are flashing through each one of your mind. As Geen, you were saying you felt you were going crazy. What was the image that Geen is holding in her head? What part of her past is? What's her motive? What does she need to do right now?
Needs to just get out of this room and collect her thoughts.
Let's go, he says. Let's go. Let's go collect our thoughts.
You need to stop doing that.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
you should stay here.
Okay. You can keep me safe if I'm here. Oh, okay. And he shuffles back into his little alcove, and closes the curtain.
I need air, and I open the door and I leave.
Wait. I'm gonna
When
follow
you-
Geen.
Now, when you open the door, Geen, Farah is standing there, and
I
she
push past her.
and the High Harvest Mistress is standing there.
I push past both of them. I don't care about any of them. I need to go outside.
Okay. The High Harvest Mistress calls after you, and she says, "Not too far, dear. It's not safe to go too far."
I'm just
Oh.
waving my arms and walking away.
She whispers, "Stay with her, Farah. Do not bother her, but just stay with her. Make sure she is safe."
As I hear that, I go past and say, "Bothering's my duty," and I go to Geen.
I'm going anywhere where I can go outside.
Okay, so you're quite able, and she says to you, the High Harvest Mistress says to you, Runt, and you, Rogar, she says, we need to go topside anyway. Let's all go. And so she begins to scuttle after her, and she's beckoning you to come with her. Your room will be safe. He will be safe for now. But let us go. And she quickly waves two of her acolytes back there. And she starts to move as quick as she can behind you. Geen, you now see the staircase heading up that you had come down the night before, and you can see daylight at the top of it.
I'm
Kane,
running.
okay.
Yeah, I go after Geen.
You emerge from the top of the into the stable where you were at. You're able to swing the false wall open, and there you see a large man leaning on a huge warhammer. Yes, massive, and his back is to you, and he's sort of sitting there, and he's got gray hair pulled back into a ponytail, and he sort of looks up and he regards at you, and he says,
Don't care. I'm
"Hello."
going. I'm
All right, you are now out in the courtyard. You can see that there are priestesses of Chantia around, and Kane, are you right behind her?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to catch up to her.
Okay, and Farah is by your side, and she says, "Please, no need to run."
I'm looking for just a place where there's nobody around. If there are people in here, I'm keeping going.
Oh, okay, and so you see right off to the corner, there is no sign of the battle last night, by the way. There is a scorched part where a haystack burned to the ground. But just past it, you can see that there is an orchard of pear trees. And there is no one there.
I run for it.
Okay. In no time, you were within the orchard.
I put my hand on a tree and I just take the deepest 5 breaths I can of fresh air.
I'm gonna look to Fran and say, "Stay here for a second. I'm gonna quietly go to Geen, because she has to know about what I know."
Okay. You are now at Geen.
Geen,
I swing.
I cast a quick hold person.
And you do. Well,
Alright, just-
unless you're going to oppose Geen.
I mean,
Go ahead, roll it.
what is it?
It's a wisdom saving throw.
I'm terrible at wisdom.
You're a monk.
Oh, no, it was a 2, so a 4.
So yeah, you stop mid swing pretty much.
Okay. I'm like frozen.
Sorry. Reaction. I don't want to get punched in the face. I drop hold person.
And I drop my arm.
You need to know something that I found out when I went to the guards post. It's about your sister.
Tell me.
Sorry, but your sister is apparently called the Foul Witch now, and is in cahoots or with Karathor, from what I've learned. I've asked the guards post. I've asked them for the same description that you've given me, And that's what they've told me.
There's something in his voice and some sort of a deep truth to it that you were exposed to last night, but couldn't put words on.
No. I take the sword that's in my hand and I just scream out in Kozakuren, Yada! And then I cut a tree.
These are old, ancient trees, but your sword slices deep, and sap suddenly flows from the tree. It's not toppled by any stretch, but your sword is buried 4 inches into it.
Look, there may be a way to reverse it. There may be some way to help out your sister still.
He has a hold on her. That can't be.
You can see the Reverend Mother now with the other 2 are behind Cain, and they're all standing there. The Reverend Mother says to you, Rogar, and Runt, you can hear this. She says, I understand she's upset. We can leave her here if you think she's safe, but there are things you need to discuss, and your friend is awake, and I need to show you something.
Okay.
Give me a moment.
Yeah,
I'll
give us a minute.
walk over to where they are standing and say, I have no idea what just happened. I have no ability to predict the future. But we need time to talk. And aggression right now is not going to do us any good.
Pull my sword from the tree.
The High Harvest Mistress kindly kind of hens you together as a mother hen would, and she looks at you with all manner of kindness, Geen, and she says, let's go see your friend. Then I will give you a quiet place to consider your thoughts. Does that sound okay? She leads the 4 of you up into the temple, and you've been in a part of this before. You were in the offices on the main level. You are carried up into the second floor. And in the second floor, it's filled with children. It's filled with children learning, and they're just finishing a lesson of some sort, and they've made their beds, and they're now playing. And then you're led to the back of that room, and then you're going up a third floor. And here, as you pass by these children, and they're just enamored with all of you. They're hello, and they're coming up to you and wanting to touch your hair, Runt, and wanting to reach out and touch the silk on your clothes. And the Dragonborn, they recognize you from before, and they're all grabbing at your individual fingers, each wanting to hold your hand as you're walking through their space. And Cain, they're looking at you with just wonder, and you see a bunch of the boys sort of trailing behind you, thinking you're just the cat's pajamas. And so that you get to the back of this space, and you head up another staircase, and the children tail off, and the mother and the sisters hold them back, and now you're in this tall attic space, and there are several beds lining the rooms. A number of them have people on them, and they're tied down. And you're led to the back of this space. You can see sisters in aprons wheeling carts. Some of them have masks on. they lead you towards the back, towards a large window, and there you can see Bill Corum is sitting up in bed, and he's eating some soup, and he says, "Hello, friends." He says, "We had an adventure last night, didn't we?" And you can see that he's wearing a shift that they've given him. And I'm so happy you've come to see me. That was scary. And he looks right at you, Geen, and he holds out his hand for you. Like this.
On the walkway there, I sheathe my sword and I just get close on my knees and I hug him. I hug the hell out of him.
And he hugs you right back. And he just, he's a man and he's an older man, but he just nestles his face and his cheek into your neck because he's so small, right into your neck. And he gives you the biggest hug that he can manage. And he says, he looks at you and he says, "Did I help?"
Yeah, you helped.
Yes.
I still think you need a haircut.
You can give me a haircut.
Excellent. I can't wait. And he looks over at Runt and he whispers in your ear, "Can I give her a haircut too?"
How about you show me how to cut my own hair?
Deal, he says, right away. Sounds good. So, where are we going today? He says, and the High Harvestress says, "You, sir, are going to have to stay in bed for a few more days. I'd ask you to stay here. The four of you, I need to show you something." You say your goodbyes to Bilk. Bilk seems a little bit miffed, but he's content enough to stay there, and they furnish him with a couple of books, and he seems content enough to go back and read. They lead you to the back of the room. There is an oaken door, and it is barred. It is barred from the outside. She says, "What you're about to see could trouble you." She opens the door. You step inside, and there's another open door inside. She locks that one behind her. There's a rather stout cleric standing there. She bows and she says, "Would you like me to come in with you, Reverend Mother?" And the High Harvester says, "No, I will be quite fine, Reagan. I will be fine." And to your eyes, this cleric has the look of a warrior about her. She opens the door, and there are troubling sounds from there. Small sorts of shifting and small moans, almost imperceptible. The High Harvestress leads you to the back of the room where one bed sits apart from the other. And there, lashed to that bed by stout leather ropes, or leather binds, is the sword master, the sword wielder that you had put down last night, that you had knocked unconscious. And he is livid, and he's grinding his teeth, and he goes, Let me go. I gotta get out of here. Let me out of here. Why are you holding me? I didn't do anything to you. Let me go." And he's struggling against his bounds. "This is what I need to show you." And he's resisting her touch. She opens up his smock, and across his chest is a series of scars. And Kane, you can see that these are magically healed scars, but deep and recut and swollen, as if he's been cut over and over again and healed.
In a sense, tribalistic or
jagged,
ooh,
deep, and scoring his breasts and down his torso. She says, "Do you know what this means?" You get away from me. And he,
Do I know my experience of magic? Do I know what that is?
you can roll.
Arcana check?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a lot. 26.
You know that these are magically healed, but beyond that, you know that this is the sign of someone who is using Luhix.
Luhix?
Luhix is a ground-up plant, one of the most expensive narcotics that exist in Faerun. Luhix is a insidious thing made from the powder stalks of Luhix plants. They only grow in the abyss. They are not of this plane. And the way in which they are taken is they are inserted into a wound, which is then stitched or magically healed in order to give a person power and euphoria.
Okay.
You let me go. You let me go right now. You let me go, little one. You let me go. You have the look of the witch about her.
I punch him in the face.
Oh.
When you do, I would like you to roll dexterity for me, please.
Oh, fuck.
Like a check or a saving throw?
I would like you to roll a dexterity check, please.
Lycanthropy bullshit, probably.
22.
You hit him square, and he spits back at you, and he goes, "Try it again," he says. "Go ahead. Do it." And he spits at you.
Oh, Geen.
I punch him again.
Ah, shit.
Where do you punch him?
Can I try to catch your arm?
You can.
Alright. Is that like a dexterity check?
Go ahead. Yep.
Is it contested?
Is it
It's
contested?
up to you.
I'm punching him in the jaw.
Okay.
Alright.
Dexterity saving throw again, please.
A dexterity saving throw? Okay.
For both of you, actually.
Saving? 18.
Okay. 3. You hit him squarely in the jaw again. The mother now steps forward and she says, "Stop it, both of you. If you strike those wounds, he may be able to get free. Do not hit him again." And she has all manner of seriousness on her face.
I leave the room.
Why are we keeping this dude alive? Like,
Information, I'm guessing.
She turns to the three of you and she says, "Luhix, if the wound is struck, gives him power. We may not be able to hold him."
so why don't we just like stab him in the
Now,
throat?
I'm going to say, Geen, you heard this on your way out the door, okay?
Okay. I'm not gonna like leave. I'm just gonna go out the door and like sit on the floor with my head in my hands.
So she turns, she says, "These who are here," and you can see these moaning, writhing others, all of them are getting off the drugs that they were on, that they've left their children for, that they have left their wives for, that they have killed for, that they have stolen for. All of them teach us something about what we're up against. We can't kill him, not until we understand if we can neutralize it. Do you understand, little one?
So like you're like doing tests on him or something?
We're trying to lift whatever's got him. And so far, my magic, and I've been here for 275 years, and my magic is not able to lift whatever holds him.
Okay.
Can I do
With it-
something while I'm out in the hall?
You can?
Can I pull out my bag of my little meditation bowl and take out Clara's hair, put it back in the bag, and just can I hit it with the little mallet? I want to hear it ring.
Yes. Give me a second.
She's going to try to meditate to the sound.
You are in the inner door of this prison, right? You haven't come out the double door.
No.
Okay. It rings. You see the three of you see the binds of this sword wielder. Blink. And then fade.
Old person.
And he sits up straight and he hits his chest like this.
Right as I see that happen, whole person.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me what the check is, please.
Wisdom 15.
Under the spell of Lou Hicks, he gets a advantage and immediately stands up and slugs you right in the face, Kane. Open hand, 17 to hit.
Oh,
and then he elbows the High Mistress right in the throat.
Oh.
No.
And she sheds it, but is knocked to the ground. Then he scatters to the corner, and he gets ready for another attack.
Do I hear this out in the hallway?
You're not in the hallway. You couldn't go back through the double door. You're at the end of the corridor of this high security piece. You couldn't get back. You couldn't get back out because of the guarded double door. I would like all of you to roll initiative, please. You can see this happening, Dean.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was trying to meditate to the sound of my bell.
That's okay.
5. It's one whole person. Oh, I've got one whole person left.
Go ahead. 5, Kane.
17 for Geen.
Yeah, 5 for Geen. 5 for Kane.
All right. Runt.
20.
20 for Runt. Rogar.
8.
Eight for Rogar. And 4 for the High Harvestress. And 7 for our friend in the corner. Runt, you're first to act.
I want to walk up to him and stab it.
Okay. You may.
Okay, let's see. 19 for the first dagger.
He is
Does that
unarmored.
hit?
It sure does.
Okay, cool. And that is 7 points of damage to the first one. Second dagger, 22 to hit.
Sorry, the first one was 17.
Yeah.
Both will hit.
Another 7 damage.
Okay. He is not bloodied, but he looks at you. He smiles, and he goes, well, actually just smiles, and it's eerie. And then your attacks can continue. But he doesn't seem phased at all by what just happened, these 2 bone daggers entering his body.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right. Next up is Kane.
Okay, I'm going to cast Hold Person, because that is a great spell. Wisdom saving throw 15.
Yeah, once, and I have to tell you all that I'm using dice now. For the first time, I've rolled these suckers in a game for 30 odd years, and he just rolled a 22. So
Oh,
he
wow.
just shakes that off like nobody's business.
Yeah. But did I take damage when he punched me in the face?
You did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, how much damage?
You took 5 points.
Oh, okay. So I'm already almost dead. Cool. And that's my turn.
And you had a full rest last night. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
that's
Rogar.
I'll stand to meet him, and will attack him twice.
Using?
My longsword.
Okay.
18 and
Hits.
9.
The first hits.
Okay.
Dodges the second.
That's going to be 7. But then I'm going to expend a spell slot and let go of Aid, which is actually a 2nd level spell, and then do smite damage to him of 19 more points of damage.
That takes his arm off as you sever his clavicle and head deep into his chest. Your blade has cast all the way through to his liver. And he looks up at you and he says, "Thanks." And then he dies. At this point, the High Harvestress comes to her feet. And she says, "My bounds should have held. I don't know how he got loose."
Well, maybe your magic is not as good as you thought it was.
And then she looks over to you, Geen, and she just stares at you for a moment. And then she says, "Come with me." And she leads you out of the door as Regan has come in to the sound of this, and several others have followed her, checking the rope ties of the other junkies that are there, that are all looking down at you, but don't seem nearly as threatening as this gentleman did. She says, "We must go. My sisters will take care of the body here." She turns to Regan and she says, "Leave it where we can look at it. You know what to do." And Regan nods. She leads you back down the hallway. Rogar, you are now splattered with blood.
Yeah.
And as are you, Runt, as you're led hurriedly back down through the end of the thing. Bill Corn's just kind of watching you. "Is everything okay?" he says, as she hurries you past. You look over and you can see that the High Harvest Mistress' nose has been broken and is over to one side and bleeding. She comes down to the bottom of the stairs. Yep.
Wait, I can't have the children see me like this. I didn't even want to do that. It was
I agree.
Reflex.
I agree. We can go down this corridor to my office. And she heads off to a small door, which has a staircase that goes directly across a wall. And you can tell you're in between two walls as you head down, first to a landing and then down again. And she says, "My office is directly this way." And she pushes a door open and you can see you are at the hallway where her office was. She also holds up a hand to you, Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And how many hit points did you need?
5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she just casts her hand over your body and you are immediately restored. As well as she then looks at herself and she says, she goes like this and she's immediately restored. And she says, we must talk in my office. You're all led into the office at this point, and she offers you a chair. She pours herself a glass of something strong, takes a quick quaff of it, steadies herself, and says, "That's not the way I thought that was going to go."
My apologies. I reacted on instinct.
I understand.
I tried to use my. I tried to hold. I tried to use. Tried to hold him down, but that didn't work out.
I understand. I believe you. Some things we just can't help, and the craziness that is around us now is something that I am trying to staunch. But frankly, it's winning, and we are struggling, and we could use your help. Not the least of which would be to help us get our friend far away. You're sitting there in her office. You hear she begins to sort of breathe and says, "Last night, the watch came. We were able to explain things away. It's been a busy morning. I seem to be pulled in every direction." And she just sort of slips back into her chair. And I'm going to be interrupted again, obviously, and she hears a rap on the door. "I will leave you for a moment." She stands up. She goes, "What is it? Farah, what is it? Have they found Lorelei?" And Farah bids her to come out, and she closes the door, leaving the four of you alone.
I'll look around the room, see if there's anything in here of interest.
I want to go take a drink of whatever she just poured herself and have some myself.
I'm
As she's
staring at
outside
the bell
the-
in my hand.
Yes, she's outside the door, and you're staring at the bell in your hand.
Yeah.
Runt, you take a drink of that, and it burns your throat something fierce. But it's not an unpleasant fire in your belly. What are Kane and Rogar doing?
Take a look around the room, see if I see anything of interest or anything that I know, or anything that relates to whatever's happening around here.
You see a number of things around the room, but the room is not very well appointed. There's no writing instruments to speak of. After all, the High Harvest Mistress is blind, as far as you know. And it seems like it's just a meeting place. There's ledgers and things like that might have been used years ago, but are now thick in dust. Rogar?
Cleaning off my face and neck and inspecting bloody hands, and
There is a wash station there, as there seems to be all over these places. Again, it's the herbs and the citrus peel that you've been exposed to before. As you're doing this, the High Harvest Mistress comes back into the room, and she says, "Friends, I would like to give you more rest, but I'm afraid I have to ask for your help. I know it's going to take us several days to get you ready to be out on the road, but I think you're going to want to hear this." And behind her, she strides into the room, and behind her comes a man dressed in a heavy woolen gray cloak. Kane, Rogar, Runt, and Geen recognize this man. His name is Berga, and you spent 2 days on the road with him. "You," he says. "Fair travels, how are you?" "I didn't
Berga?
know you were here." "Yes, it is I, Berga."
Just the man I'm looking for. I give him a big old handshake.
"Okay. Kane, it's good to see you." And just remind us all, Kane, Bergen knows you by a different name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Fairwind, was it? Was it Fairwind?
Faywing?
Faywing?
Faywing, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and so he says, Faywing, Kane Faywing, good to see you. Well met.
Yeah.
All of you. I'm surprised to see you here, but I can't say I'm unhappy. I'm here to ask the High Harvest Mistress's help, and perhaps you can help us too.
What's the help?
Sand Krulik, the master of my camp, with the High Harvest Mistress's guidance, there's a number of us, including Sand. We want to settle down. We want to leave the life that had become questionable for us and take our women and our children and the women and the children of our lost brothers and leave the life we were leading, which I just have to say was one of violence, and several of us are ready to go. And now there's so many of us that are ready to go. There are parties at the camp who do not want to stop their ways of let's just say privateerism. So I've come here, and the High Harvest Mistress has agreed that she will accompany me back to the camp and meet with Sand and discuss how we may relocate to farms and how she can help us move our brothers away from the life that we had. It's just become too ugly, and I was surprised when I brought it up how many of my fellow cloaks had decided, the Patriots had decided to come with me.
That's good to hear. I've got some questions for you. I'm, as you say, an investigator, and I'm investigating a very special case on bequest of a bright song.
I don't know that name.
Well, they're looking for a man named Burkle, and I was told that he could be found here, last seen here, to be exact.
He has a bit of a troubled look on his face, and he says, Berkelish.
That's the one. Is he in this town?
He is at the camp with Sand. I have to say I'm surprised you would have known of him.
Investigators are nosy that way.
He regards you long and hard. Give me a moment. Perhaps, I guess, trust has to start somewhere, and I've led a rather unsatisfying life. At this point, the High Harvest Mistress comes over to him and takes his arm, and she says, There's not a moment to lose, son. We should get going. I would suggest we don't worry about Mr. Faywing's question. I would say we're probably best to discuss us going and talking to Sand this very afternoon. If we leave now, we can probably be there at the lunch hour and catch him. Would you agree? And he seems calmed by her touch. Strangely calm. Well, enamored with her, in other words. And he says, I think that makes sense. And she begins to lead him out of the room. She casts a backward glance and she says, please decide if you can come with me. I would appreciate your help. And she begins to lead him down the hallway. And you hear a distant voice as she says, we'll be in the stables. We'll leave in 10 minutes. And she is out of sight.
Mm.
Why would he pause and be troubled with the mention of your uncle's name?
Because my uncle, as you can tell by my memories, worked for Karathor, and I think he betrayed him. So here I am, with the person who worked for the people that worked with my uncle and is now holding him captive. And hell, they might just want to set them free at this point, since they want to leave their old life behind, in a sense.
I'm still drinking.
I've been zoned out this entire time and I'm still staring at the bell in my hands. I'm not paying attention to anything.
You see this. You see her off to the side, staring at this bell.
A quick question: did the Harvest Master,
Mistress.
High Harvest Mistress.
High Harvest Mistress, did she invite us to meet with Saint Kurulik too, or just
Yes.
say okay?
She's asked you to
Be
accompany
in the
her.
stables in 10 minutes.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
I'm going to head to the stables a little early because I cannot wait to meet this Saint Kurulik. Head to the stables.
Okay.
Gene? Gene,
Still staring.
toweling off from the blood, I'll walk over to her and place a hand softly on her shoulder.
Oh.
Are you okay?
I think I did that.
Did what?
Caused the man to be released from his bindings. I don't know. I just was ringing this just to calm down, and I just heard all of that noise, and I think this did that. I didn't mean to, I swear. I didn't.
They were already having a difficult time holding him down. Whatever
It's
poison
okay.
was running
Okay.
through his body.
Rogar killed him, and all the poison that was running through his body went bleh all over Rogar. It's okay.
Good point. Got lucky.
So you should have a drink, and then we go find the guy that was looking for. Yes.
I want to offer her the bottle.
I haven't made a good decision all day today.
I never make good decisions. It's okay. It's fine.
I drink it.
The first swallow that you
I
take,
chug it.
the first swallow that you take is it's obvious that this is high test stuff. It burns your throat. And do you choose to take more than one gulp?
I mean, I chug it until I feel like my body just can't take it anymore.
That happened with the first drink. This is some hardcore dwarvish sort of whiskey, and we're talking like what would it be, 160 proof or something crazy. So you are and you feel immediately dulled first by the burning sensation, and then it just hits you like a sack of hammers, having had no breakfast.
I cough it up, and I'm just like,
But you do feel quite relaxed now, albeit a little bit in need of a drink of water or something along those lines. And there is indeed a pitcher of water right there next to this.
Now you can breathe fire like me.
And you feel like you could at this point. This is some stout stuff, and so you can have a drink of water if you'd like.
I get a drink of water. Is there like a bowl of like fruit in her room?
There is some hardtack bread there next to the water. Just seems to be a snacking sort of bread with salt on it.
I just take a swig of water, take a piece of bread, and just say, "Thank you, Runt. Let's go."
Yeah. Kane, you've come down the stairs. Your compatriots are a few minutes behind you, and you can see that there is a large armor-clad gentleman holding a massive warhammer in one hand and helping his other hand. His gauntleted hand is underneath the boot of the high harvest mistress, and he is helping her onto her horse. And he's looking at her, and he says, "My lady, are you sure you don't want me to go with you?" And she says, "Griffaro, you must stay here and watch the temple. You know how important it is that no one enters this barn. I'm going to trust you with this, Griffaro." And he says, "I'm so sorry I wasn't here last night, High Mistress." She says, "I know. We've been together for many years. It's okay." And she pats him on the shoulder. One of the younger acolytes has brought your horse to you, Kane, and it appears they have gone to get your horses from the central city a stable and brought them here. And so she's actually leading him out of the large barn structure. And you can see behind her are two more. One has got Rogar's large stallion, and one has Geen and Runt's slightly smaller horses, Runt's pony. And they're sitting there waiting. You're able to mount this horse as you go up. When you do, Sister Farah comes up to you, and she's quite beautiful, this Sister Farah, and she's the one that you've seen the most of. And she hands you your javelin of lightning, and she says, "I retrieved this for you last night. They killed my sister as she went for help last night. Lorelei. I know I shouldn't hate them, but I do." And she hands it to you. You also see that the High Harvest Mistress has with her riding satchel, and she seems ready for the road. When the three of you emerge, your horses are there, and they are waiting. And your quiver, Geen, if it is on the horse. Oh, no, it's not on the horse. Pardon me, it's with you.
Yeah.
But one of the acolytes holds out a bundle of fresh arrows, and she says, "For you, miss." And,
I stuff the rest of the bread in my mouth and take it and just say,
in fact, each one of them presents you with a riding sack similar to what the High Harvest Mistress has. And when you look into it, heavy bread, a flask of a skin flask, and a number of apples and some pears, and a small sack of shelled peas. And the Harvest Mistress wields her horse around, and she says, "We must go if we're going to make Sans camp. Are you with me?"
Get on the horse.
Okay.
Indeed.
Farah emerges one more time, and she says, "Hi, Harvest Mistress, here." And she hands to her a staff, and the staff is It's like the handle of a scythe. It's slightly curved, and it has two outward protruding handholds on it, and she shoulders it as she would a quarterstaff. Is there anything any of you need before we go? Then let's away. And you can see the gentleman comes out of the barn, this older male paladin, again sporting this great hammer, and with a huge head on it, the size of a gas can. And he looks at you, Rogar, and he goes and gives you the sign of the gauntlet. And at that point, you are hurried out of the city. Under the High Harvest Mistress protection, you seem to pass through the city quite quickly, and you head down the road towards the ferry, but only for a short amount of time. She then cuts south. Berga is riding in the lead, and now 6 of you make quick time so that as the noonday sun is rising, you find yourself approaching a busy compound. Along the river's edge, you see wagons, you see tents, you see the makings of a village. Children running everywhere, women running everywhere, and you are led down a dirt track towards one of the larger tents. People are playing. There are old people playing instruments. There are widows crying. But by and large, this is a town of industry. The women outnumber the men 10 to 1. Berga stops in front of a large tent, inquires with one of the guards that you see outside, all of which are wearing some manner of gray woolen cloak. He casts a glance over to you, Kane, and says something again to the 2 guards outside the tent. One then points his hand down there and says something to him that you can't really hear. He gets back on his horse and he says, "This way," and he carries you down a little bit further. You are led into a large open compound, and there you can see that there are a number of men working on wagons. They are fixing up these wagons, and next to them is a large blonde man who is busy tapping a steel rim onto a repaired wheel. He looks up from his work, wipes the sweat from his brow, puts his hammer down, and approaches the horse of the High Harvestress. He says, "High Harvestress, thank you for coming. Berga has told you that we've had tough decisions to make. I would ask that you and your fellows walk with me. There's much to do here, and some troubling things we've learned. But I would like to discuss with you what is most pressing: a return to peace." He hands the wheel he's working off to one of his co-workers, a young man. He points out what the boy needs to do, and he wipes his hands. And he says, "I need to check on a few things. Can you follow me, please?" Your animals are tied up to a rope line nearby. They're given oats, and Sand motions you to come with him. The High Harvest Mistress begins to go with him. The 4 of you are standing there at the horses. Around you is this scene of children, industry. You're in the middle of this tent city. What do you choose to do?
I'm following Sand, but I'm looking around every which way in place for my uncle.
Okay, you follow along. You don't see your uncle at first glance. Geen Runt Rogar.
I'm elbowing Runt, and I'm just gonna whisper, "Why are we here?"
I think we're supposed to find Booker.
Burkle's here?
I think that's what she said.
Do I hear this?
Yeah, that you're just moving away from them. And are you following Kane as he goes?
Yeah.
Rogar?
I look to Geen. I nod.
You're led into one of it's more of a cabin structure now. It's something that's been put up hastily formed, and you can hear billows in there and the clash of hammer on steel. And Sand is at the door, and he says, "It's noisy in here, but we can't be listened to. Let us go in and have a conversation. You're welcome to bring your fellows with you." And he leads you inside. It's quite large inside. There you see blacksmiths moving. And most interestingly, here's what you notice. The blacksmiths are quite literally turning breastplate and shield and some of the older swords and well-worn iron goods and steel goods, literally turning them out into plowshares. And the High Harvest Mistress says, "Sand, I didn't expect to see you take it this literally, but I'm glad to see you're committed." And Sand turns to her and says, "I've had enough of the fight. I've had enough of the death. I've killed too much. I've seen too much. I've helped the wrong people. I killed my son."
I'm gonna whisper to Runt, "No, he didn't."
Okay.
Whispered.
Just kidding. Over the clanging, it's hard to hear anything, and he says, "We need to convince the others. Many of them want to keep up the fight. But, as you know, now the weak are going to follow whoever's strongest. And I would like you to help me convince the others that it's time, that we need to embrace the light again and find a simpler life." The High Harvest Mistress says something rather surprising at this point. She says, "Even the light needs soldiers, brother." But this seems to stick in his ears and sink his face down. He says, "I would like you to stay for the council meeting this afternoon. Would you do that for me? Would you help me parley with the others?" You hear a bellowing and hooves. And in through the door bursts a hulking figure. And he says, "Krulik! Krulik! What is this I hear of you melting down swords and shield to become a farmer?" And Krulik steadies himself, and he looks up at the visage of this large horned figure, this minotaur you know as Wart Hollow. And he says, "Wart Hollow, Ferdinand, you've known me for a long time. But I won't be shaken from this path. And if you can't follow me, Wart Hollow, I will have the leathersmith stitch a yoke big enough for you to pull these plows. And Wart Hollow digs one hoof into the ground, clenches his fist, looks down at his friend, flares his nostril, blowing Krulik's hair back. We will see who they will follow, Krulik. And he casts aside the leather door of the smithy, and he leaves the forge. Krulik turns to you and the High Harvest Mistress, and he says, "You see what I'm up against."
We've seen something like it before, yes.
He leads you out into the grain yard. And as you do, you can see that around Wart Hollow, there's a mob. Gray cloaks standing there, spitting and saying things like, "Krulik, you idiot! We'll need every sword we have." Others, roguish types.
Can I tap Kane real quick while we're walking out before all of this happened? Just tap Kane and say, "Should we tell him his son's not dead?"
Probably. And we should probably... I have an idea. And I'm going to look to the Harvest Mistress. I'm going to cast Message. And I'm going to say, Krulik's son is not dead. Should we tell him this? Yes or no? And that's it. And this is a whisper.
She looks at you, and she goes, and she holds up her hand. She steps into the middle of this fray and holds up her hands to quiet those around her. And even though she's sightless, she seems to quiet the crowd. And she... And the crowd goes silent for a minute, and she says, "Friends, we can discuss this." And they start to yell a little bit more, and they're jeering. They're yelling at Sand.
While they're focused on her, I want to go ghost into the crowd.
You do. Tell me where you're going. In front of you, behind you, I should say, women and actually children have started to gather in behind you and Krulik. The blacksmith is there next to you. Several of Krulik's guards are there. Berga's there with you. In front of you is this semicircle. In the center of it is the Minotaur, and there are at least 60, 70 armed people in front of you. Not wielding, but they are armed. Okay?
I'm trying to blend in with the Minotaur's people, if I can, if that's even possible, looking the way I do.
Sure. There are other children there around the
Okay.
feet of these. They seem to be used to this ruckus life at this point, and you were actually quite easily able to blend in.
Okay. I'm gonna rabble with them.
Okay? Kane, what are you doing at this point?
Quick question. Has Krulik noticed the spear?
No, not yet. It's on your back, I take it?
Yeah, it's on my back, and now I know that this is Krulik. I'm gonna try to hide it as best as possible.
You can throw your hood over it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
And,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna... I'm just standing next to the Harvest Mistress, like, just tell me when to get the whole person signal.
Yeah. So she's actually out in the middle of this fray in the open part. Geen and Rogar, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm hiding behind Rogar because I'm kind of scared.
All right.
Ready to champion Sand's cause and have to bring down another Minotaur.
Sounds good.
Ooh.
Well, You see the Minotaur now is standing front. Sand is standing there. The High Harvest Mistress is in between the two of them, and they are spitting back and forth. They are saying things along the lines of, "It is time. It's time, Ferdinand. We need to stop this." And Ferdinand looks at him and, "I will have no human tell me how to earn a living. I will have no human tell me that I can't avenge my brother. I will have no human threaten to make me pull a plow. I will have no leadership from you, Sand. Not anymore. You've wiped our numbers by over half. We now have more mouths than we can feed. Oh, we should eat half these children, I'm telling you." And he is, and they're just arguing back and forth. And this feels like it's going on for quite a while.
Have any of us noticed that Runt left?
Not yet.
I'm trying to
At
get
this
as
moment,
close
though-
to the Minotaur as I can.
You do. And at this point, suddenly the crowds begin to go quiet. And the Minotaur holds up his hands and says, "I think it's time that the Grey Patriots vote for a new leader. What say ye?" And behind him, his people erupt in cheers. And then suddenly they drop silent as a third figure heads into the middle of this grassy expanse, this circle. That third figure causes Sand's mouth to drop. And this large, dark-haired figure says, "I couldn't agree more, Ferdinand. It's time for a new leader." And you recognize this third figure as Jaren.
Ah, motherfucker!
Oh, he's here!
Motherfucker.
He's here!
And that's where we'll stop.
Okay, so quick question. Jaren Neal is Mr. Spear, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's the
Okay.
wereboar.
And he's on the side of Sand Krulik.
No, he's on the
No,
side
he's
of
on the
the,
side of-
Warp Hollow.
Oh, so on our side.
No, he's not.
No.
he's on
Wait.
our side.
Oh, wait. Warhol's the bad guy. Krulik's the
Yeah.
good guy. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Same. Okay.
It's the irony is we've been chasing Sand this entire time, only to find out that they're literally
We've been
beating
chasing
swords
Jaren.
to plowshares. Yeah.
Oh, this is not good, folks. This is not cash money.
We might
get a
Gene
chance
to
wants
kill
to
him, though,
put
and that's very
arrows into
exciting.
Jaren's heart.
So let's just recap what we're seeing right now. There is a mob, mostly men and a couple of blonde rapscallions on behind Ward Hollow. There is this other contingent, much smaller, heading in to the midway point, pushing between these two mobs led by Jaren. And there is you standing right behind Sand Krulik and the High Harvest Mistress. One of you with a lightning spear on your back. And several of the Grey Patriots who wish to leave, moving in behind. So that's where we're going to pick it up next week. I think,
Fight!
Pretty much.
I guess what I'd like, I'd like to go to Beans, actually, is what I would like to do. Let's quickly go around the table and remind who is holding what. Last time I checked, we had 3, 5, 1, and 1, but we had
I thought it was 4.
no, that was what we started with last night. So what Rogar? Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to ask you. What do you know? You guys have all got your own counts, right?
Yeah. I have 4.
4.
I'm sitting on inspiration.
You're sitting on 5.
I keep forgetting to use it.
Okay. 4 for Kane and Runt.
I think I'm sitting on inspiration and possibly a bean. Not sure.
Yep, we'll call it 6. I think that's what I have too. So
Okay.
let's go around the table. Let's go Brad, Shady, Luna, Aiden.
I think Gein's playing out of frustration, bringing in some of the Kozakuran as well in frustration, definitely stood out to me.
All right.
Going into a pear orchard and slicing into a tree.
I'm so sorry.
That's great. So Luna, you're sitting on 6 beans, inspiration +1. And as we go through these, I'm going to ask everybody that's on with us with Twitch to go ahead and cast their votes. And Chalta's going to go ahead and tally those up for me and get me the number. But let's go to you, Rot. You, Shady.
I would say Gain for her PTSD that she's now going through, like after she let that dude free, and then she was just stunned for a long time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Although I did really like the Keen dream sequence, but PTSD wins.
Good. Luna.
I want to give mine to Kane because for as bad of a thing that Geen did by kissing him so many episodes ago and him saying that he still hasn't forgiven her, he went after her in the orchard and still tried to be her friend and take care of her in her moment
Kane,
of distress.
Great. And then Kane,
and then dropped a lore bomb on her.
Yeah.
That's right. That puts you up to inspiration for next game. All right.
I'm gonna give my bean to Geen because of the same PTSD. That was cool. Just everything's been happening to her, and she has been an official train wreck.
Yeah, this whole episode
I feel like she's like the only real person among us because everybody else is just kind of, this is life.
All right.
It's like, I'm out here in the world and it sucks.
This whole entire western side of the world is just not being enjoyable for her right now. She's
I went to
why
the
did I
Dales,
leave
and all I
home?
got was this stupid T-shirt.
There you go. And we have a little bit of a battle on Twitch between Original Sin and the Wandering Warlock. A vote each for Runt and Geen. So from to you, Shady, you made us laugh, and Geen, just the reactions to these strange situations and how you role played.
I'm sorry, Rogar, I punched you.
Excellent
so many
work,
times.
all. Okay.
What are you gonna
So
do?
there's one other question that's going on in the minds of those who've joined us. For those of you who have been following us on Instagram, I found my first set of dice that I bought when I was 15 or 16 years old.
Oh, that's
They
crazy.
were my first set of dice that I bought after my yellows out of the original box. That remember the old cheap yellows that you had to rub shoe
Grand.
polish into so you could see the numbers. Anyway, these, which one of our friends is called Elder Speckles. That's what they call it. Anything that's over 20 years, apparently, and is speckled. And so I'm missing a D4, and this was before the days where you would get a second D10. If you remember that day, I don't know. Anybody? Does anybody remember when it only ever came with a single D10 and you had to roll it twice? Or, anyway, so we're thinking right now that we might actually have a little contest among the dice makers who are following us to see who can replicate that pattern in a D4, who can get close enough. Because otherwise I'm D4less, but that's okay. I'll just divide. I'll just divide my D8 into 2, and we'll go with it that. But the question on Twitch has been, were these mean rollers? And yeah, they were. And not a word of a lie, the D20, the first one that I rolled right out of the gate, was a crit. So there you go. I might start using them more, fellas. And
Hooray.
and so there you go. Okay. Well, and also now we've got a new. So we're gonna say goodnight. So thanks very much. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Hey.
Bye.
Oh, 500.
There you go.